I'm very delighted to be here today. I will say that I'm not an engineer and I don't play one on TV, so my background is in mentoring, diversity, and program management. So what I'm going to do today is share with you the program that I oversee at Clemson. And if you don't know Clemson, we're national champions. So if you watch football, we beat Alabama, okay? So I'm excited about that. But I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what I do. I feel that they're best practices, and maybe some of them may fit at your college and maybe they won't, but I just want to share with you. So thank you for being here today. Tell you a little bit about the programs that I oversee. They're two of the most oldest diversity programs within our college. WISE is a program, Women in Science and Engineering. It's at most benchmark schools that we, set ourselves with to try to get more women in engineering or STEM fields. There's less than 10% women in STEM in the United States. PEER is a program in which WISE was actually an outgrowth of, and this program, it stands for Programs for Educational Enrichment and Retention. Again, you don't have to remember that, but PEER is the program, and it's actually a MEP program, a minority engineering program that tries to get more underrepresented minorities in STEM. Our target area is African Americans, Latinos, Native Americans. We're trying to get more of that population into STEM. Our majority retention rate is around 81.2%, and as far as our groups together, we kind of put everything together. There's about 76% as far as retaining them, and you see that we retain about 57.9%, and as far as women, about 74.6%. I remember when I first came to Clemson many years ago, and I started working with the WISE program because I started there before I was promoted to oversee both of the programs. There were 17% women in the general engineering program. At Clemson, when you come to the university, everybody comes in general engineering, and they sit there for about a year, and then they choose which discipline they'll go into. So with that being said, it's grown to about 30% women coming in since I've been there. We have been cited as one of the top universities in the nation as far as graduating African Americans in the United States. However, the numbers are still very low, so we brag about that, but then you asked our numbers and we're like, not that many, but compared to the rest of the people that we compete with, we're doing pretty good, okay? I want to just talk about three things. Every time I get an opportunity to talk about the programs I oversee, I always talk about them in threes: outreach, recruitment, and retention. And one of the things that I do believe is that you pretty much do both of them together. I have to grow the population I want. My philosophy is that, we're still living in a time where there's still first generation, and there are a lot of parents that really don't have the education or the knowledge of where we're trying to take their students. So I have to work with organizations in order to grow what I really want. And so that is part of our job. Right now I have a program assistant that really oversees the outreach. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the outreach that we do. We have a relationship. Well, before I go into outreach, I want to say, some people say, well, how are you doing all of this? Of course, there are many ways that I do this. First of all, some programs I have to charge. Some programs are grant funded. We have a grant with the Lewis Stokes Alliance. We have other grant funded through NSF, grants. We also have corporate people that help us. We also have private donors. So there's many ways I do what I do. When I first came to the program, it was just me and another colleague running. She was running the peer side. I was running the Women in Science and Engineering side. Now we've got a reorganization and a new dean that's very supportive. And so now I have a peer coordinator, a WISE coordinator. I have hired a staff of mentors that consist of about 30 undergraduate students that are majoring in STEM. And then I also have about 30 students that tutor and run a tutoring center as well. It was not like that. It was just WA. If you stick with it, maybe it will change, but I feel like this is really at the forefront of what everybody's looking at, so it's going to have to if we're going to make a difference. So now I want to talk a little bit about outreach. Some of the outreach programs that we have, one of the programs that we have is called Girl Scouts Day, Introduce a Girl to STEM. And basically, we invite Girl Scouts from all across the state of South Carolina to come up for a day at Clemson University and rotate through different modules to learn about STEM. This program started in 1999, and we have saw somewhat of an impact with that. One of the things we're working with the Girl Scouts, we've had to try to see how we can really keep the data, you know, of the students that attend, because they're kind of really private with that. But we do have this day, and it is funded by Lockheed Martin. Another day that we have that's funded by Duke Energy is Project WISE. And this program started in 1997. And what we try to do is, through our state, anybody could come out of state. It's really not just for South Carolina. We, you know, do a lot of marketing, and we invite students, girls, to stay on campus for an entire week to learn about STEM. And we have current students that are role models that stay in the dorm with these young ladies and help them as they rotate, but it's a longer week. The very first Project WISE that we had in 1997, we invited 50 young ladies. 27 of them came to Clemson and got their STEM degree. So we have the names to show. Another program that I started, because I'm not an engineer and don't play one on TV, I decided to try to write a little book about math, science, and engineering. It's a girl thing, because what I find is that a lot of times we introduce STEM, but we talk over their heads, you know. So in my little booklet, I'm going to have to update it because some things have changed. I talk about how it personally relates to them. Case in point, when I think about chemical engineering, how, you know, the chemicals that we use as a female that relates to engineering. When I talk about bioengineering, I talk about the body and how it relates to that, and environmental. And I sat with different students and got their take on it and how they got introduced in the field to learn about, you know, what STEM is all about. So this has been very helpful. But through writing this little booklet, in layman's terms, I went to the school districts in my area and asked them if I could come into their classrooms. And they allowed me to come in their classrooms during their related arts period and bring current students that are majoring in STEM in their classrooms. Case in point, if you can adopt a school or have some kind of relationship with a school that has the population that you're going after, that you can show your students that are already in the field, that's an excellent way to be a role model. So we do also do that, and it's a program that's been going on since 2009, and we have seen some impact from that as well. The other thing that we do is school presentations. We go out by request to different schools if they're in the local area. As he was saying before, sometimes the resources are not always there, so we can't go everywhere. What I try to do, if I cannot go, if it's like in Charleston and I'm in, you know, in the Greenville area and it's about 4 or 5 hours, I try to find an alumni or somebody that has those expertise to go in and do school presentations. So now I'm going to kind of roll into the recruitment. One of the things that we do as well is recruitment days. I'm not the college recruiter. I can't do that. It's a lot to do. So what I have done is try to partner with the recruiter in our college to make sure that students are on that team when they go out, to show that we do have students here, and also bringing those students that we want to campus. And one of the things that we do is we do a Wise Choice Day that brings women to campus, and also a Peer Snapshot Day that brings a lot of underrepresented minorities to campus. And then we do a day called See Clemson, in which we bring students that are already accepted into the Clemson, so that they can also see what it is to really be a student there. I want to talk a little bit about summer camps. I've already alluded to Project WISE, but I also started a camp called We Do Math. I'm a firm believer that a lot of people are afraid of math, and so I started a summer camp just for girls to focus on math, because I feel like we need to treat math just like we treat reading. And I believe that we've got to build that up to really get the ending that we want. We got to build that population. This is just a snapshot of the recruitment day. I'm not going to go into great detail, but some of the things that you should know if you're building a program is, of course, why are you doing what you're doing? I always say I like to party with a purpose. And so I've got to know why I'm doing this. And so I've outlined some program outcomes that we have as far as recruiting those top underrepresented perspectives to our college. My measurement is how many students enroll. And then I go on down to talk about what the program content is going to be. 1-day campus opportunity, an opportunity to actually go to a real class to see what it's like, an opportunity to tour the facilities, opportunity to network with other students and get their feelings of what it's like, an opportunity to go to a real dining hall and see what it's there, also a dorm, and then also just do an information session about how do you get here, admissions, financial aid, all of those things that they need to do. So we bring students from around the state to campus. We have offered this free when we had the funds to do it. But one of the things that's key about this is that, you know, it gives them an opportunity to see what it's really like to be a student and to see people in person and so forth. So I really like this program, and we've been doing it for a while. We used to have them come and spend the night, but when they started calling the president on our office, I stopped. Because you would come, it's a lot of, when you have them stay overnight, sometimes it's a lot involved with that. If you look over, you'll see that, you know, 48% of the students were really excited about being there. They had found information on how to be there, and they decided that they wanted to come to Clemson. And some of them said, of course, 55% of them said they couldn't wait to be a Clemson Tiger. I'm going to kind of shift here to our retention efforts. We again have this grant called the LS SCAMP, the Lewis Stokes Alliance SCAMP grant. And one of the things that it focuses on is trying to get more, you know, students, underrepresented students, to go on beyond undergraduate and go and get their PhD and so forth, or get their master's. And so we've had several programs that focus on this. And the thing about it is that math is the gatekeeper, though, because if they can't do math, they're not going to be able to make it in STEM. And so one of the things that we do with the summer programs that we have is bring them up and give them, you know, a kind of review of what they need in order to make it, and also help them, you know, with transitional skills of like, what is it like to be a student here on campus, all the resources and so forth. One of the things that I have on staff, all of my staff are academic coaches, and they're also, we have a counselor and an advisor there to help our students get through. This is an example of our summer program. I thought I would also show this, and what we're trying to do here is just giving them math skills, hands-on STEM learning, research opportunities, and also industry exposure, because sometimes we find that students say they want to major in STEM and they really don't know what STEM is all about. So these are some of the things that we do. We had had this program Fire last summer, and our impact, as you can see, the program results were really good. We had about 48% of the students said that it was really, really beneficial to them and so forth. These are some of the other retention efforts that we do. And the mentoring is another part of it. Our mentoring program, as I said before, I have about 30 young people that work for our program. This helps them because a lot of times with underrepresented students, they're trying to work 2 and 3 jobs. They're trying to do a lot. So our office actually hires students, and we pay them about $10 an hour. But we've done this in a collaboration with our Career Center. So we pay $5 and they pay $5. And what they do, they mentor incoming freshman students that come in. They help them with adjusting to campus. They help them with, you know, any tutoring they need. They help them with just really getting used to campus. At Clemson, you can actually come into a, once you get through general engineering and say you decide you want to go into chemical engineering, you may be the only female in the whole, you know, area that's majoring in chemical engineering. So our program gives you someone right away. We do it proactively. Even before they get to campus, once we get that list of freshmen that are coming in, we shoot you an email, we get with you on Facebook, we use all kind of social media so that you will have a mentor right away. So we're just doing it proactively because we feel like if you're savvy enough to ask for a mentor, you probably don't need one. So at any rate, one of the other things that we do, we run the college study hall. You know, we've been hearing a lot about diversity, but in my neck of the woods, they're talking about inclusion. And so one of the things that I have done, we still do our mentoring to underrepresented students. We still do that. But one of the things since I've been in charge that we're starting to do is that we open up our study hall to the whole college. And so we have tutors there that we pay as well, and that we train to tutor students and all of those real hard courses that they have trouble with. I feel like this, if I have trouble in calculus, I don't care what color you are, I don't care what gender you are, help me. you know, and so we have really seen that it's really changing the dynamics of our campus, because when we all get together and help each other get through, it really makes a difference. We also do newsletters that spotlight, you know, alumni and different students that are doing great things. We have a test bank as well in our office. We have a lounge area where students can come and they can huddle and they can talk so that they can see other people that are like them. I'm definitely from a predominantly white institution, so our percentage of minorities, Latinos, Native Americans are very low. So it's an area where they can come and see, but everybody's there. If you go there, everybody's there, everybody's welcome. As I was saying, we have a test bank. Some faculty don't like the fact that we have a test bank, but this is my thing, change your test from semester to semester. And this is my other answer. This is my other answer to that question as well. If you all remember when you were in school, fraternities and sororities had their own private tests and so forth. So we give them opportunity so it won't be just one group having a certain thing. So we do that. Most of the faculty support us. Peer mentoring, of course, again, I've kind of really already said this, but it's in your handout. But one of the things that we're trying to do is provide a friend, provide a role model, somebody that can answer questions. We hope that also that it will be some way to organize study groups and get involved socially and just make your way on campus. You know, I also have a little sheet that I carry around because I think it's very important. People that fund us, like Lockheed Martin, Duke Energy, Fleur Daniel, the different corporations that fund us, they want to know that they're making an impact. So I encourage you that if you have any kind of corporate sponsorship, to make sure you show your impact. As you can see, it's a girl thing. An average percentage of the people that participate said that it really increased their awareness in engineering. With Wise Choice Day, when we bring these young people up to try to get them to make Clemson their choice, 80% of them choose Clemson. So these are just different stats of what our program is doing. So this is some of our best practices when it comes to recruiting. We feel that definitely our mentoring program is really strong, because once you get them there, you can't just leave them. You know, I don't want to go dot by dot, but just early exposure to our program. You know, I have a program in the summer, as I told you, Project Wise. I have teachers across the state calling me, when is Project Wise going to happen? When is it going to be? Can I put my application in now? The program is in June, and I kid you not, we've already got people calling to say, okay, you know, when is this going to happen? And then also, you know, just making sure that you understand that it's just not when they get here, but even building that population to get them there. I don't really have a background as far as evaluation, but I wanted to say to you today that I feel like one thing, and I actually learned this from Ann when I was talking to her when I met her in DC, is just being consistent. You know, a lot of times we get grants and we get programs, and we'll do our little program for the amount of time that the grant is there, and then it's gone. And so in order to build this workforce, to build this pipeline, we're going to have to be consistent. So the programs that I've kind of briefly introduced you to and named and so forth, I try to make sure those programs have a longevity. I mean, of course, there are some programs that may have to, you know, stop if I don't have anybody to sponsor them. But for the long run, you need to make sure that you have consistency with your program, so that teachers, so that families, so that, you know, other folks will know about your program. And then also, one of the things that I've learned, because we have an institutional research on our campus, I went and I spoke with some of the people in that office, and I said, what really can I evaluate? And so they told me about having learning outcomes, knowing what I'm really trying to do and what my objectives are. And then so for every program that I do pre and post assessment. When I bring students to campus, I say, okay, I ask them what they know, and then at the end I ask them what have they learned, and I keep that and I keep it documented. And then if you have corporate people like myself that sponsor you, you also want to know what they desire. The people that sponsored Project Wise, my middle school program, they want to know how many of those students came to Clemson. You know, it wasn't just a week-long program for girls. They want to know how many of them do I really get. And that takes a lot of time, because I'm dealing with rising 7th and 8th graders. It takes long years in order to get that, so you need to kind of keep up with that. And then knowing what your university requires. I was thinking about knowing what your students' needs are once they get there. There's need for financial support, there's transportation needs, there's obligations at home, there's feeling like an outsider, there's negative influences. All these things your students are really dealing with. So it's one thing to get them there with outreach and recruitment, but it's another thing to really know them them and what your program is going to do to retain them. So I want to stop right there. I went through it really, really fast so that we would kind of, have more time to just chat and talk. I know you are here in groups, and I really want you to think about your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats within your organization. When you think about what you want to do in recruiting and retention, what are those? And so since you guys are here on teams, I would like for you to look at that. I don't know if you want me to, I feel like it's self-explanatory, but if you want me to really talk, I'll give you an example. I think one strength of my program is that I have upper administration support. I feel like I think that I have my dean on my side. I think that I found ways to leverage my program. I think that is good. Some weaknesses that I have is that I have not had enough staff. I don't have it. At first, I didn't have somebody working on outreach. I didn't have somebody, working to do retention efforts. So there's so much there that I still feel kind of weak there. And then my opportunities are that STEM is hot. And and our colleges are saying, okay, we need more people here. Well, put your money where your mouth is. So those kind of things. And then finally, the threats. The threats are, funding sometimes goes away. Deans change. People have different, their goals are different. And so you have to think about that. So I want you to work with your teams to think about it. And when you think about it, think about this: what can I do about it? Some things you can do something about if you put the effort there, and some things you just cannot do anything about it. So I want you to think in that manner. Now, along with that, there's another sheet. Did you give them both? Yeah. It's on the back. In business, there's a tool that they use called SMART, but I put smarter, okay? And one of the things that I want you to do as you work together on your team, I want you to think about specific goals that you can reach within your program. Are they measurable? Are they achievable? Are they realistic? And are they time bound? Can you do this right away? Is that some kind of goal that you may have to do 2 or 3 years out? And then can it be embraced? Not only embraced by you, but embraced by others. And then last, is it recognizable? I think about now we're in a time where social media is very hot. And that's how we get to our students. We're on Snapchat, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, all these things that we need to do. This is a time that you have the opportunity to come together and to just talk about it. But I hope that this was beneficial for you, and I hope that you can go back and maybe use it to kind of, let you narrow down your goals. Some of the things that I wrote down that I think that are best practices when it comes to recruitment is, of course, building those relationships with your schools, with your faith-based areas, with your undeclared majors. I went to a workshop and I found out there are students on your campus that really don't know what they want to do. So see if you can get in front of that group and tell them about the opportunities there. Your alumni, they're great, poster children for what your program's about. I don't know about at some of the community colleges, but on the university level, we have a lot of like NSBE and SHIP and SWE, and maybe you may think of some groups. These groups are, NSBE is the National Society of Black Engineers, SHIP is the Society of Hispanic and I think Latino professionals, and then we have SWE, which is the Society of Women Engineers. Maybe if there are some groups on campus that are students that can be helpful. And then as far as I said before about the stackable credentials, if you're trying to get someone there, at least get them to your campus. And then finally, just as far as assessment, again, I don't really like to go in areas where I don't have an expertise in. And so what I did, I tried to find someone on campus that could help me. One good practice in business, I may not know how to do accounting, but I can find an accountant. And so on your campus, find out who can help you do what you need to do, because you cannot do it all alone. That's one thing that I found out after 23 years working in STEM way back. I can't do it alone. So I need everybody to come to the table and help me. So thank you for your time. I definitely love to show you any of the material that we have and talk to you more about what I do and how I got there. Thank you.